Okay, now just to tell you that uh, ever since we have started talking about determination of exchange rate, we talked about its devaluation in the currency or depreciation in the currency would always help a country to increase exports. If a country experiences export, then it is likely that the country is going to enjoy higher current account surplus. Okay. Now, does that mean that it is always going to happen like that? Depreciation or devaluation in the currency would cause that country to enjoy current account surplus. Okay. Now, to understand this phenomena, probably we need to focus on a particular theory called Jacob effect. Okay. So Jacob effect will help us to understand whether really it happens or not. Now, what happens? The happening is here devaluation in the currency causing export to go high so as the current account surplus. Okay, let us see whether really it happens or not. Okay, so the question is pretty much same. Does depreciation or devaluation of currency help a country to improve balance of payment? Okay, the answer would lie within various contexts. Okay, though I have initiated with this. Okay, so it may depend on many other factors, not only depreciation or devaluation in the currency, but probably would be relative income. Okay, for example, if we have devaluation in the currency and we are expecting to increase export causing current account surplus. But what may happen if people in that country are having more income, relative income? Okay, their relative income is so high that they may consider buying goods from foreign countries even at higher prices. Now, if this phenomena works, then it is possible that even though a country is using devaluation to encourage export, but import would go higher. And the reason is because people in that country are having more or higher relative income. As a result, importing more goods. So it is likely that balance of payment may not improve, rather it may deteriorate. Okay? So relative income could be a factor. We also have relative inflation, though we discussed quite often that devaluation in a currency probably would help export to go up. But what happens if there is higher inflation in a country? Then people would find there is overvaluation in currency. Now, overvaluation in currency means under PPP theory, people would consider buying more goods from outside instead of buying from the domestic market. Now, this would also cause import to be higher and export to be relatively lower, and that may cause balance of payment not to improve, rather to deteriorate. It is possible to some extent. Okay, then we have awareness and expectation. a country may devalue the currency. But unfortunately, devaluation in the currency and prices of imported goods by the foreign buyers would not be known. That means probably they don't know that goods in overseas market is now cheaper. So if they don't know that, probably they won't buy that. So devaluation in a currency would definitely increase the export. Is very much subjective of awareness among buyers. If buyers from other countries, they know that their currency has been appreciated because of devaluation in a particular country's currency, they will definitely buy goods from that exporting country. But if they are not aware, then it is unlikely that they are going to buy the goods. As a result, the way an exporting country would expect to get higher export revenues may not happen because buyers are not aware of devaluation of the currency. Okay, expectation. Now, what happens? Sometime a country devalue its currency, and then domestic buyers consider that this devaluation in currency is going to be for some time. That means it is not going to be lower for a longer period of time. As a result, if they have to buy something, they would consider buying those goods, ignoring the fact that their currency has been devalued, and as a result, they have to pay higher prices for import or imported goods. Okay, that means awareness and expectation would also be a factor whether import or export to be higher, and as a result affecting the overall balance of payment, particularly balance on trade. Okay, so if buyers are not aware, they won't buy. As a result, export would not increase. Buyers in this is for foreign buyers. Okay, in case of domestic buyers, if they are expecting that the value in the currency is a short-term phenomena, then they will continue buying it. As a result, import either be same or maybe increasing. Now in both cases we see import will be higher, export would be lower, causing balance of payment not to improve, rather deteriorate. Okay. Coming to the next part is preferences. Sometimes what happens, even though there is devaluation in the currency, but people ignore that. Now, in that case, they consider their personal preferences. Now, the personal preference is people feel foreign goods are superior. As a result, if they have to pay little bit more, they won't mind to pay for that. So even though there is devaluation in the currency, people would continue buying foreign goods. Sometimes some people do consider, because of the devaluation in the currency, foreign goods are becoming costlier. That means it is better for them. Why? because they can maintain their uniqueness. Now, this feeling by the people to have unique product would, would allow import to be a little bit higher. So, the way a government would expect or a country would expect that devaluation is going to increase export and lower the import, probably that may not happen. As a result, it is not sure that devaluation in a country's currency will definitely improve the balance of payment. Okay, now all these factors are very much dependent on reaction by the people, reaction by the foreign buyers or the domestic buyers. Okay, if the reaction is slow, then the outcome would be different. If the reaction is quick, then also the reaction would be different. So ultimately, through this J-curve effect theory, we would try to understand this reaction by the buyers. Okay, so what is happening? As a result, it won't be wrong to say that the relationship between devaluation and improvement in BOP depends on the elasticity of net export demand. Okay, which is what we are going to learn through J-curve effect theory. Okay, so what we have, as because we are talking about J-curve effect, let us know a little bit about J-curve effect. J-curve effect is a model that reflects a fall in the exchange rate causing an increase in current account deficit. Okay, before it reduces due to the time it takes for demand to respond. Okay, so what we see from this theory, that this theory is actually telling us that fall in the exchange rate causing an increase in current account deficit. Now see, whatever we have studied so far that told us exchange rate, fall in exchange rate would cause increase in current account surplus. But in this theory we see that fall in exchange rate would cause increase in current account deficit. Okay, so which is a little bit conflicting with our knowledge. Okay, now let us see that why it is happening. Okay, now to understand that, probably we would need a graph, and this graph will tell us what is happening when there is depreciation in the currency. Okay, now first of all, what we have to do, that we have to have a graph with two axes. The x-axis will be with time and y-axis will be with current account balance. Okay, now the horizontal line we see, that is actually zero line. That means that is the balance. Balance on current account will be pretty much balanced. Okay, if import increases, then balance on current account will go down, and then there will have deficit that you can see just below the horizontal line. Now if export is higher than import, then that country would experience current account surplus. That means that country, the trade balance in that country would be higher than that horizontal line. Okay, now what we see with the J-curve is J-curve at first decreasing, reaching to the lowest point, and then gradually it is improving. Before it touches that horizontal line, current account balance would always be deficit. After that horizontal line, the next part of the J curve would actually tell us current account surplus. Okay. Now, get to the next part. The question stays same. Does depreciation or devaluation of currency help a country to improve balance of payment? Okay, so it may depend on the price elasticity of net export demand. Okay. So what we see that this J curve would actually tell us about the net export demand, price elasticity of net export demand. So why do we have the shape of the J curve is like that, which is about U shape? The reason is because of the price elasticity of net export demand. Okay. Now with that, what we see that, for example, let's say a country is experiencing current account deficit due to some reason. Now, the ultimate solution would be that country may like to use devaluation in the currency. If that country uses devaluation in the currency, export prices will be lower. As a result, that country would expect export demand to be higher, causing current account deficit to be decreasing and then gradually getting into the current account surplus, which means right from that devaluation point, the curve would be upward. Unfortunately, that is not the case here. What is happening here, when a country would use devaluation, the current account deficit would actually increase rather than decreasing it. Now, current account deficit increasing means it is going much lower. Then it is reaching to the lowest point, and then after that, after reaching to the lowest point, devaluation in the currency is basically helping that country to have more export. Okay, so what we see at first, current account deficit is going down. We need to understand why it is happening. So we have a question here. Despite of devaluation of currency, BOCA succumbs to further deficit, and why it is. Okay, let us find this answer. Okay, well, price elasticity of net export is inelastic, as lower price due to devaluation does not encourage domestic and foreign buyers to change their consumption. Okay, so price is going down. As a result, it is expected that buyers would like to buy more as per the law of demand. But unfortunately, that demand is not increasing for some time. That means buyers are not reacting to the lower price. So that's when we get the knowledge from the elasticity of demand. Now, as elasticity of demand says, if price of a good is decreasing at higher rate, but quantity demanded is not increasing that much, then buyers are not reacting to the price change. Okay, so the reaction is pretty much slow. Now, here in this case, we have to mention about the domestic buyers and also the foreign buyers. The reason, because domestic buyers would represent the import and the foreign buyers would represent the export. Okay, so what we see, the response from domestic buyers and foreign buyers seems to be pretty much inactive or not that much active. And that's why price elasticity of net export demand at this stage of J curve seems to be very much inelastic. Okay, now let us see that why buyers, namely domestic buyers and foreign buyers, are not responsive to the lower price. So what we see, domestic buyers are yet to find substitutes of imported goods in domestic market. Okay, that means even though the price is going down, prices basically to domestic buyers going up because of the devaluation in the currency. Okay, to domestic buyers, import prices will be higher, and as a result, it is likely that they should respond by not purchasing the foreign goods. But what we see in this case, they are actually purchasing the same amount or maybe more. And why that is happening? Because they know that the prices of imported goods going up, but if they are not to buy that foreign goods, then they need to buy that good from the domestic market. Now, do we have any substitutes in the domestic market? Probably that answer is no. And that's why they don't have any choice. Even though the price is going higher, they continue buying that goods. Okay. Now, do we have any other factors? Yes, probably there are some other factors. One of the factor is demonstration effect. Now, what is demonstration effect? Well, some people would like to maintain their status or would like to show others that they have got unique type of product which others don't have. Now, if people are driven by the demonstration effect, means no matter the prices of imported goods going up, they would like to buy those goods or continue buying those goods. Again, they will continue buy the imported goods. Okay, just to satisfy their demonstration effect. Now, if that happens, that means in terms of value, import goes higher because devaluation making your import prices are higher. Okay, I hope you have understood this part. Now let us get to the next point. Contract to follow. Okay, what happens sometimes? Some domestic buyers, they sign a contract with foreign firms to buy a good or a set of good over a longer period of time. Now, if that happens, then devaluation in the short run won't affect their contract. That means as because they have signed a contract, they would like to respect that contract. In order to respect that contract, even though the prices are going higher, they will continue buying that good. Okay, can we say that, okay, they are going to pay higher prices and not the same price, old price like before? Well, that depends on the type of contract, but in general, we have to guess. Maybe they will follow the current exchange rate. Okay, now as per the current exchange rate, there is devaluation in the currency, so import is going to be costlier. Now, in order to respect that contract, they will buy the costly goods from the foreign firms. And this will cause import to be, or the value in the import to be higher. Probably you have seen or you have heard some firms, they buy parts from other countries. Okay. Mostly it happens with the business buyers. Now, when they buy parts from other countries, those parts are not delivered at a time. The reason is because business firms quite often buy those parts of a particular whole product in millions of units. Now, in order to have millions of units of parts of a particular product, a firm used to have contract with foreign firms for a longer period of time, where those millions of units will be delivered in part delivery. And as a result, the firm, when they receive those parts, they will have to make payment. When they make payment, they will have to use the current exchange rate. Now, can a firm ignore that contract? Well, not. Once a contract is signed, you have given order of millions of units of parts, then you have to receive those. Otherwise, there will have trust issues between partners or among partners or suppliers. Okay, so what we see, because of the contract period has not been over, domestic buyers would continue buying foreign goods even though there is devaluation in the currency. Okay. Next point, we have high domestic inflation. I hope we have discussed this part quite often. If there is high domestic inflation, particularly talking about relative inflation, then domestic buyers would find it is best to buy foreign goods because even though there is devaluation in the currency, and at the devaluation or devalued exchange rate, if they buy a good from foreign countries, that good seems to be cheaper than the good available in the domestic market. Now, foreign goods are not influenced by the inflation. On the other hand, domestic goods are pretty much subject to have inflation or under the influence of inflation. So if there is higher inflation, then domestic goods prices are likely to be higher. So what we see, even though there is devaluation, domestic buyers would find somewhat the foreign goods are still cheaper. And as a result, they will continue buying that good. And that would lead import value to be higher, causing current account deficit to increase further. Quality concern. As I mentioned earlier, domestic buyers have this perception or domestic buyers are run under the impression of quality. Let's say I would say that domestic buyers are driven by the quality concern. Their perception is foreign goods are always quality-wise superior and the domestic goods are inferior. Now, if buyers are very much quality sensitive, then no matter what the prices are going higher for imported goods, they will continue buying the foreign goods under the impression of having or receiving high quality goods. Now, if buyers are very much quality sensitive, then the value will not influence their purchasing decision. Now, if that happens, then continuation in purchase of foreign goods means import value is likely to increase due to devaluation in the currency. And that's why we see current account deficit to increase further, even though there is introduction of devaluation in the currency. Okay, let us get to the next part. Okay, so till now we have discussed about domestic buyers. Now let us talk about foreign buyers. Foreign buyers are yet to know about the lower prices or lower price of imported goods. Now, here in this case, imported means, I mean to say, foreign buyers are talking about importing goods from the exporting country. So, foreign buyers probably don't know there is a devaluation in the currency in the foreign country, and as a result, their country's currency has been appreciated. So if they don't know, probably they would not buy anything. Or else there may have another factor, that is quality of the foreign goods. Now foreign consumers probably also quality concerned, and they may consider their domestic goods are better in quality. Now devaluation would lead prices of the imported goods for them to be lower. Now lower price means they may have perception maybe the quality of that good is lower. So as a result, they would not purchase anything from the exporting countries. Okay. So what we see that due to these factors or these reasons, domestic buyers may not respond to the higher import prices led by the devaluation in their domestic currency. Whereas foreign buyers may not react to the lower prices due to devaluation in the foreign currency because of their lack of awareness or the quality concern. So in both cases we see the reaction by the buyers in the domestic market and also in the foreign market would be very much less. That would cause this part of J curve to be very much inelastic. Now inelastic nature in J curve and at the same time devaluation in the currency would cause current account deficit to increase. What happens as a result? Because of that reason that we see, as a result, import continues to increase because of the devaluation in the currency, whereas export does not happen in a way it should happen. And why export is not happening in a way it should happen? Because foreign buyers are maybe unaware of the lower import prices. And that's why probably they are not buying it. Okay, causing deficit to increase further. So these two factors, first one is import is increasing, second one is export is not happening in a way it should happen. So higher import and lower export would cause current account deficit to be higher. Okay, I guess I have tried to explain this part. Hope you guys have understood everything. If you have not understood anything or any point is confusing you, please let me know.